So I want to introduce you to, should I say old friend of mine? Yes, you're an old friend of mine. Damien Johnson. Damien actually spoke at this event back did a whole keynote session and track back in 2020. And that was when, we got to fix Damien. Oh. I could carry on the fixing Damien thing a little bit more, but I'll hold back on that. Is back in 2020, Damien was talking embrace. Roll forward 4 years, rise is the rage, right?
What? What's that? Rise?
I'll turn it over to you, Damien.
Cloud ERP. So welcome, thanks for having me here. I didn't realize that we weren't conducting something else. I thought we were doing buzzword bingo because my title, I believe, has a few of those buzzwords in there. So you're probably thinking, what am I here talking about with regard to these heterogeneous, composable, autonomous enterprise? It's a mouthful, but I think, from the way that you are probably leveraging your technology assets, your business systems, and your employees and everything else, you are really already running that. And what I mean by that is SAP has a habit of talking about SAP, right? And I'm allowed to say that because this is my third time back at SAP since starting with SAP back in 2000. The reality of everything out there is that it takes more than just SAP to run an organization, to be successful, etc. And the interesting thing as part of being the Cloud ERP function here is really to help our customers and our partners understand where we are going. And one of the things that SAP has done, thankfully, has been to change. And change is happening everywhere. It's continual, as everybody knows. So I use this slide to depict not my career history, but the reality of what has been happening out there. We start out with the mainframe, just like SAP did, just like every other business system solutions worked. But what I want to talk about here is not so much the technology, but what was happening to the way that business was getting done and who was doing that activity. That has also changed. And so I joined SAP and other ERP customers in the height of client server. And what I like to mention over there is the fact that in the world of client server and ERP systems, I knew it as, before ERP, I knew it as EIS, Executive Information Systems, right? And it was all about getting the right data, because everybody knew the data was somewhere. Actually, I don't think it was called data back in those days. It was called bits and bytes and green bar report paper. But it was all about getting it into the right hands, right? And the right hands tended to be just business managers or a select few in an organization. Technology obviously evolved into those network days. The internet era came in. And everyone was like, oh, well, this is great. I can get to it really easily. I'm pretty sure you can remember when somebody asked you, where's so-and-so? Oh, it's on the portal, right? That used to be the call. And SAP Land, I remember SAP had SAPnet for all the SAPers in here, which had everything. And it probably even had the answer to world hunger and world peace in there as well. You just couldn't get to it. That was the problem there. But again, it broadened the landscape in who was doing what and who was interacting. It became employees. It became employee self-service, right? Everything increased. The fact is that you, as an organization, started to interact with every aspect of the business. Then we had this wonderful cloud era, ushered in by, obviously, the likes of AWS and co. And one of the things that became evident there was really related to the way you can do business faster. Efficiency became a key aspect. And we also saw that as part of the cloud era, we moved beyond the confines of our own organization, right? We started interacting with the suppliers. We started interacting with our customers directly. So it became an everything, everyone in the world was basically your employee taking part in your business processes. Then into the current era, I call it the hybrid era because it's everything era, right? At the end of the day, one of the key drivers for this has been the autonomous actions. Now, is it fully there? It's happening, as Captain Proton and Lieutenant Nova said. It's happening. And the other thing that's happening is the fact that it's no longer everyone, it's everything. And when I talk about everything, it's not just, again, the IoT aspect, because everybody gravitates to, oh yeah, it's everything, it's IoT stuff. No, it's IoT plus those autonomous robots. Not just RPA, but algorithms that are making decisions. That's also key. So this is the continual evolution. And obviously, last aspect about this is that I want to draw out is it is the everywhere, anywhere aspect. I've got I work with one of the cloud ERP customers, a mining consortium in Australia. They have basically full mining operations. They laid out their own private 5G network to the mine so that they could actually have their operations being managed and operated by a NOC in Singapore. The mine is in Australia. It's the dump trucks and everything else is run and operated by someone in Singapore. This is the reality of the world that we live in. So I wanted to give you the context of what I mean by the rate of change that is happening out there is immense. And one of the reasons that when we look at from the cloud ERP model is to support that change. It's the flexibility it gives. And the kind of, if we look at the downside, we covered this with the a little bit about the downside aspects that's addressing the world right now. There's a lot of pressures happening. And I have another slide that talks to the way that SAP has established our kind of like corporate vision. We talk about sustainable operations. We talk about sustainable and resilient supply chain. We talk about business process agility. All of these things, I think everybody understands, are key to supporting and overcoming some of these pressures that we've identified. But the one thing that I would like to say is that we did not foresee the rate of change of all of those things, right? Thanks to the pandemic, thanks to the global supply chain blockages, thanks to the geopolitical situations with numerous wars going on and how that affects world finance, world supply chains, etc. Everything changed, to use the American colloquialism, I guess, on a dime, right? It just went from 0 to 100 miles an hour without anybody understanding. And it's kind of funny that I think, I worked in retail as well as financial services. And I have been going to I don't know if there's any retail customers here, forgive me, but I have been going and visiting yourselves for many years, talking about the concept of buy online and pick up in store. I have been doing that for many, many years, trying to explain that this business model makes sense. It's the way of the future. But it took a pandemic for everybody to realize that, right? So it was like, hello, I've been telling you that for 5 years, but never mind. But the reality of the thing is exactly that. Same thing goes for supply chain. Everything that we cared about supply chain was, can I get this widget to me cheaper and faster than XYZ? And suddenly, actually, I need 10 suppliers, and I need to make sure one of those suppliers is in a geopolitical safe scenario that I can guarantee supplies. Another thing that's changed because of supply chain and sustainability is it didn't become about just simple, what I call a cost basis. We have manufacturers in the CPG space that have realized that their consumers, their end customers, are willing to pay for sustainable products. So we've got customers now designing products using sustainable capabilities, and guess what? Our supply chain needs to provide that information back up to the manufacturing process. So everything like that has changed with what we're looking at and what we're doing. This is, from the point of view, I love this quote. I did not realize who made it. I had heard about it. And Martin, just to make you annoyed, I did make it. It is, I called him Justine. So being a Canadian there, I can make that joke. But anyway, the point is, it's relevant. What's even more scarier is this quote was made in 2018, I believe, at the World Economic Forum, right? But as I think everybody understands that with the rate of change that's happening, this is very true. This is the way that everything is going. The fact is, as we look at all the AI stuff that Captain Proton talked about, all of those things are affecting how you do business. And what I wanted to talk about was, you know, just like Captain Proton talked about and made fun of some of these things here, these things are happening. It's a question of when and how will it actually trickle down into your operations. You know, everybody laughs about blockchain, which I totally get. I mean, it's like I'm so happy I did not buy one of those in our what do you call it? NFTs, right? You know, there was I think there was a LeBron one for $23,000 or something, right? That you could just download on a Google search. But the reality is, blockchain is applicable to business operations. It's happening, you know, with our smart contracts and everything else, right? It's actually a viable aspect of a technology that can help impart and improve business operations. Quantum computing, again, a viable scenario from genetics and medical resolutions for gene matching and analysis through to cryptography and everything else. So there is aspects of everything putting this together. And of course, I think most people are like, when will quantum talk to AGI and then we really will have Skynet kind of things. But aside from that, the reason why I mention this is within the SAP world, within the broader IT enterprise architecture landscapes, these key capabilities are relevant. You just need to be able to identify what's of relevance right now, right? Again, as we talked about the Corporate Explorer as well as Captain Proton, just doing it because it's the cool tech and trying to, you know, go out finding a use case is not the best way to go about it. But you have to make sure that your future-facing designs take into account all of these things and putting it together. And that's why, from the view of the way I look at it, you know, being an SAP conference, et cetera, and the SAP customers and all of our partners, this is where I wanted to make sure. This is why I told Paul that I really want to talk about the heterogeneous nature of business operations. Sometimes, you know, with Sapphire, TechEd, everything else, we're all about SAP and all about SAP. And like I said, I love the fact that SAP can give you and manage a end-to-end process within the SAP portfolio. That's great. It's just not everybody runs it end-to-end, perhaps, right? So we need to make sure you, our customers and our partners, understand that from the get-go, we are now really, as we move to that cloud ERP model, and I think this is anchored on the fact that SAP has turned the corner, has realized that it's not just about delivering in the cloud, it's actually developing and constructing the support mechanism in a cloud-first model itself, right? Everybody thinks that, you know, I'm part of the global cloud ERP organization. It's like, oh, it's the same thing delivered in, just because you want cloud revenue. No, we're changing everything behind the scenes as well. But more importantly, going back to complete operations, it is the way that, you know, from the point of view, our whole landscape now, from our cloud delivery model for our solution set, it's constructed in such a way that it takes a true process-centric view. In the world of, you know, I had the slides from SAP that I did all of this, right? I had to retire everything from the end to end. This is the way that SAP basically made a name for ourselves and differentiated ourselves, right? We own the end-to-end process-centric aspects. But the reality is customers have multiple landscapes, heterogeneous landscapes. How do we now make this same value story relevant in that function? How can I actually leverage the integrations into SAP with Coupa, with Workday, with Salesforce, whomever, with custom code, with custom solutions, etc. That is the way that we are now evolving from our point of view and our delivery. So going back to my title, what I wanted to ask, somebody told me always use cognitive dissonance in your presentations. So can anybody tell me what's wrong with this slide? Anybody? Sorry, Beulah. Come on, somebody has to tell me. Does anybody sorry? Too colorful, okay. All right. Okay. What's the first top one? What's the background for heterogeneous? Oh. What's the background for autonomous? Okay, see, that's where I was trying to get to, because I thought you would notice that. But composable was down at the bottom with autonomous, right? See, I was trying to do that because I was told that's a really good way to see it, but nobody bloody got it. So that didn't work. But anyway, the interesting thing is, it's all about this aspect. And like I say, from my point of view, when I talk to customers, so as an architect, I'm going to go back to talking about what architecture means, right, really, because when I talk to customers, they come to me with, what can you do for me regarding these aspects? Seriously, because it's all about, I have a heterogeneous landscape. How does your solutions fit into that? I need to create new business functions, new business processes. That means composable. I need to create a new way of doing business with your stuff, with other stuff. And then lastly, the last part everybody is really obviously keen on is, can I automate that? And can I automate that beyond the whole RPA stuff, the robotic process automation of task? That is, I would say, taken for granted. That's table stakes now. The autonomous operations that I'm talking about is gone up one more into the business decision-making layer. So RPA and task automation, that is table stakes. The fact that I am spending 5 minutes putting in a purchase order receipt is so yesterday, right? However, now, am I actually releasing the purchase order upstream to the correct supplier? That needs to be automated. And that's the kind of world that we're living in when I talk about automation. It's not just the good old-fashioned RPA stuff, whether it's with Build or with our partners like UiPath. It's the fact that we have to do all of this thing at a higher level. And the reason why SAP, and people ask me, the other question I get asked by people when I talk about this my third time back at SAP, they say, well, why the hell do you keep coming back? That's why. Because, obviously I think everybody knows SAP is pretty much the de facto business process platform, right? We support the breadth and depth of industries. That was, again, one of my first day was spent right here when Shaya Garcia and myself, we were here we were acquired by SAP top tier back in the days. We had our first session right here in 2000. The interesting part about what I mean is this industry capabilities is blurring, because in any given business operations, you are taking capabilities from different areas which originally came from a very specific business function targeted at a very specific industry, which is why we spent many years consolidating the 25 industries back to core, because it was so evident that we as an organization could not support the growth unless we had a consistent core that supported 25 industries, right? Anybody that's still, I hope there's nobody running AFS or ISU in the individual old worlds, right? A&D, all of these things, right? This is a capability. We absolutely covered the full gamut of capabilities. However, we had that interoperability issues. The reason why this is when I talk about heterogeneous composable, this is why. The need for key capabilities from different areas being relevant in your industry, right? So this is, and going back to the Corporate Explorer conversation, this is why, as part of a backbone for a business process engine being run by SAP, you have the opportunity to change those business models. You have the opportunity for someone in your organization to say, you know what, I'm going to change the way that we sell this software, or sorry, sell this product. I had a customer, Komatsu, back in the days with HANA, actually. We actually worked with them. They were, obviously Komatsu makes huge land mover equipment, etc. And it's a huge capital expense, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, rather than renting it out, for, I don't know, probably $100,000 a month or whatever it was, can't we say, you can have it for $10,000 per ton of earth moved, right? It's a way of changing things. I'm working with Tata Motors in Tata Group in India, where they have now created a EV public vehicle scenario, servicing the communities and municipalities in rural India, and they are basically saying they're not selling the vehicles, like buses and fleet management. They are actually charging the municipality per person, per move, per kilometer kind of thing. It's the different ways of business getting executed, right? And the underpinning of all of this is in the capabilities here. And if you look at the landscape from SAP, I put SAP still at the middle because it is the center of the enterprise. For the most part, I think it still holds true. But the reality is that most organizations are using a myriad of other solutions, right? And this is the world, this is what the backdrop that I talk about, heterogeneous, autonomous, and composable. Because we as a solution, we as architects, we as technologists, have to support this back end. And the wonderful thing about where we are right now is it's all coming together really nicely. We've moved everything of our delivery mechanisms into the cloud. Cloud delivered is probably the de facto starting point. I don't believe there's many people creating, on-premise software. People talk about even even quantum computing. Nobody's coming in. Google's not coming here. IBM's not coming here and plopping the super cool quantum computer in your data center, right? It's going to be accessed via the cloud. So all of these things as a de facto starting point is cloud, and we've enabled that. The other aspects I mentioned before is the need for supporting that heterogeneous nature of operations. And when we look at the way I depict the SAP portfolio like this now, because it's the closest way I find I can talk to a bunch of architects and technologists as well as business teams as well, because if you notice on here, there's not a single product per se on here. I talk about the way that we have now evolved. We are delivering in a cloud-centric model, and that's from a delivery and a development platform paradigm from our point of view. The aspects about Cloud ERP is in the middle. That's our S400 Cloud capabilities, both versions, the private and the public. But surrounding that, it is that I call it a business semantics-driven data integration, extension, and AI abstraction layer, AKA BTP, AKA Cloud Weaver, as I call it, from the point of view of the standardized LOB cloud functions. From Ariba, procurement processes, success factors, all of those things. And I'm including in there the Salesforce of the world or whatever that our customers might be using. At the top, I got what I call my cloud scale platform functions. Those are the likes of leveraging Azure, AWS, Google, etc., right? Because our customers are looking to integrate some of those core enterprise-wide platform capabilities into that same singular process flow that I mentioned. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of activity where we want to make sure that you as customers and partners can integrate into our future-facing aspects of AI. Because will SAP provide every single capability that your organization needs? Probably not. But regards your business operations, absolutely. But guess what? Those business operations need to be incorporated into your existing rest of the world operations. And that's where we provide that interlinking, making sure you're not reinventing the wheel for no reason, making sure that you're building on top of what we divide so that it's future-facing and available for consumption next time round. So all of these things, and we've got the industry cloud, that's, I think, one of the, personally, when people ask me, why do I like SAP so much, I really, and I've sold other ERP software across and implemented it. The biggest difference that I find from SAP is truly the industry capabilities. ERP, journal entry and SD and AP and AR, blah, blah. That's, big deal. Everybody does that, right? I mean, I think the journaling technology, journaling functionality hasn't changed since the 1400s, I believe, when the monks developed the T-ledger systems. From the point of view where we have that industry cloud right there as a cloud, the difference is that you've probably seen SAP used to deliver industry capabilities into SAP ECC add-ons, right? That was the way we used to do it. Moving forward, we're really delivering via the cloud because we have to make sure that that capability is accessible in the cloud separately, decoupled from the S4 connectivity aspects, but also giving the opportunity for other industries to leverage those components. As I mentioned before, subscription, management, and billing, and revenue optimization, that used to be the purview of a very specific set of industries and solutions. Now it's becoming central to every single customer that I'm dealing with. It is part of their way that they do things. Insurance companies, financial services, retailers, CPG, wholesale, everybody is looking to take advantage of subscription. And if you're just like me, that I thought subscription and streaming services is great, now you find out I'm saving money by spending about $400 extra a month on subscriptions. The reality of the enterprise as well is, related to things like this. This is just a view of the pressures, but these are pressures as well as opportunities. If you look at this from the point of view, we have this slide here that talks about the challenges. It speaks to some of the challenges that Andrew talked about as Corporate Explorer. These are reality of things that are happening in your landscapes now, both internal and external pressures, et cetera, that I mentioned. Again, from all the commonalities. And obviously, if you've got all the challenges, you have a set of opportunities. And the opportunities are all going to be driven by how effectively you attack the challenges. Do you have the right architecture patterns? Do you have the right solutions? Do you have the right interoperability? All of these goes into a bigger picture. And that's really, I think from the point of view of being an enterprise architect, this is what I love. Because I get to draw and combine these capabilities. Because as I overcome aspects about on the left, the challenges, I create opportunities on the right. And I need to be able to do that using, something called Cloud ERP. Just to say to you, I used AI. I used my Adobe Firefly license to say, generate for me a Cloud ERP in a composable heterogeneous environment. So this is, you're not seeing this on Google image search, just want to let you know. So this is what it came up with, which is not too bad. I kind of like it. The going by way of things, we just talked about this with Captain Proton. Everybody's about large language models. And I like to say so yesterday, because it's more about general world models. I don't know if anybody's, you can Google that if you haven't heard about it. There's a model, Solara, right? Yeah. This is based on, you had language models. People are looking and creating these general world models, and they're using video, the linkage. They're establishing the videos, and they're finding that through the video-based linkages, they're getting, the models are understanding the relationships far better. So this is where, you will see if you Google this whole stuff, and you'll see that the point of view is that we're getting to the next generation of how these models can help change the way that you do business. And so what I did was, I think, as I go back to my heterogeneous, autonomous, and composable enterprise, the reality of the world is next-gen ERP is probably not going to be an ERP system. It's going to be about the ability that you as an organization get to ask for activities and things to this kind of level. It's not going to be about, oh, can I have the data to create a forecasting plan? No. Why do you need to stop at a forecasting plan? Well, can I tell it to ask me, what should I be making for that sector based on XYZ that happened in the organization? And the reality of the scenario is we are creating a landscape, both from SAP, as well as our customers, as our partners, and our competitors. I truly do believe that when we look at the next generation ERP, it's going to allow you to do things like this, where you are effectively, because if when I wrote this out as a construct, as a thought experiment, I actually said, could I go and build this? And the reality of it is, yes, you could. We could make that happen for real. It's not simple. It's probably very hard-coded into this context. It's not true general model. It won't understand everything. But I could make that prompt probably work with a few weeks' worth of work. That, obviously, just that prompt, right? But conceptually, so the world that we're living in is to enable this level of flexibility. This is the way that business is going to get done in the future. I mean, I truly do believe that because my daughter was, she's a nurse practitioner, and she asked me, oh my God, you sell SAP? And I said, yeah. She goes, oh my God, I had to use it yesterday. So you can imagine what that means, right? So this is more the, when we look at the way that, I talk about this from cloud ERP being the center. I don't care about capabilities. Capabilities is just a foregone assumption. It's about how everything works together. And that's one of the most important things that I hope you take away from this as architects. And my whole reasoning for this is this. I love this quote as well. Again, really relevant. Then I found out it was actually made in 2008, I think it was made in, right? Again, the relevancy of conversations and observations. This is the world. You had that as one of the sticking points, right, I think. This is what our customers need. That's what my customers ask about. I don't need a science project that takes 18 months to do something because by the time I get anywhere, the demand has changed. So the ability to act on immediate insights, that's where we're going. We need to provide the capability for our customers to be dynamic and adaptive at the speed of business. Everybody talks about speed of business. I don't give a crap about speed of business. It's as quickly as you need it, right? And you need that flexibility. And the one thing that SAP gives beyond some of the technology partners is that this has to be done in the context of governance and control. It's got to be enterprise class because that's sometimes I see my customers going and do tech stack stuff and losing visibility onto the governance and controls and enterprise operations, right? You can't be total wild, wild west across everything because if you post your general ledger entry incorrectly, people go to jail. People die, if you don't have the right supplies in there. So you can't have that level, but enterprise-wide agility, that's the goal. And I'll be here all day, as they say, try the veal. But I've got sessions with the cloud ERP aspect, commonly known as RISE, and to do with some, probably nobody's going to be there, but everybody's going to be here doing the AI talk track, isn't it? Anyway, I can talk about, cloud ERP can talk about AI as well. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Damien.
Cheers.
We got a photo, so don't... We have a photo, so don't go anywhere yet, as well as the people upstairs in the broadcast stream. Just a couple of quick things before the flag photo. And actually, we should be doing photos upstairs, too, by the way. We've got to put that innovation in. So a couple things at break. Wendy Keene will be just in front of the ASUG booth there beside it, signing copies of the book Strategy to Reality. We've got Andrew Binns, the Corporate Explorer Field Guide. So get the book, read up on it, and join the club. You'll be part of the club, get noticed in the club. My friends at Jibs have some books around data from that context. Another thing I want to highlight, who likes board games? Anybody? So.
They're architects. Of course they like board games.
Well, there's board games. There's the SAP Business Technology Platform Diamond Game. I kid you not. So next to the flag, they have set up the board game. So go check it out. It's an awesome game, and you can play it inside your company learn BTP. You may not want to bring it home for a Saturday night with the family. I tried that. It didn't go over too big at home, but do that. And let's see. The other thing I'm going to do, I've got about 30 of these flags that I'm going to give away. So I got to figure out the mechanism to do it. But if you're passionate about the space, passionate about community, and you want to be a true corporate explorer that plants the flag in different places for photos, think about it. I'll figure out how to do this later. So lastly, it's that time.
It's that time. Oh, awesome.
And Ted, I missed you on the flag. Can you join in? Yep.